I'm Maureen with Levil Aviation, and I'm the production manager here. I just wanted to go over some troubleshooting questions if you're having issues with your BOM. So sometimes people will call in and they'll be having an issue, say, my BOM's not turning on, or I can't see it on the network. What are some things we can do to check it out? So the first thing I like to go over with customers is I like to ask them, how do they know their BOM isn't turning it on? Are they not seeing it in a Wi-Fi network, or maybe are they looking inside the access plate and not seeing any lights turn on? So the first question I like to ask them is if they haven't already removed the access plate, to go ahead and get a screwdriver and remove it for us. And then I ask them if they can simulate a little bit of vibration by tapping the unit. Are they able to see any LEDs blinking inside? If they're able to see some LEDs blinking inside, this normally means that the unit is at least getting power and powering on the electronics. When you tap gently like this, it doesn't actually turn the unit on. So the next thing I like to ask the customer is to try to simulate a little bit more vibration so we can try to get the unit to turn on. So what I like to do is I will tap the nose about 20 times really quickly to try to get the unit to turn on. Once the front LED turns solid, we then know that the unit is turned on. So the first LED near the leading edge of the circuit board is the one that lets you know the unit is on and functioning. There's an LED right behind that one. That's the charging LED. So for this type of question, we're just looking at the very front LED nearest to the USB access. So if this unit is now turning on, the next thing I would ask them is to go ahead and grab an iPad or an iPhone and see if we can see the Wi-Fi network. So in your iPad, you have your settings, and then you go to Wi-Fi, and you see if the BOM Wi-Fi network is even available for you to see. What you're looking for is something as simple as the word BOM, B-O-M, followed by your serial number. So normally we would say, let's pretend like this serial number was 1234. You would see BOM 1-1234. And so if you can see the Wi-Fi network, then what you would do is you would connect to the Wi-Fi network. Then once the app is open, you can go to your status page. On the status page, it will let you know what your battery percent is and some of the other features on there. But sometimes customers can't even get this far. So my next question I would ask them is, so when you're tapping and you see the blinking light, but maybe you tap and tap and tap, but it never actually turns on. So we do have a little USB power supply here. So what you would do is you would then grab your USB, plug it in to a 5-volt power supply, and that should wake the unit up. At that point, we would check again to see if we can see it on the Wi-Fi network. And so now if you can see the unit on the Wi-Fi network, I like to do what we call a quick plug. So one little information about this unit is if this unit is plugged in for more than 10 minutes, the moment you unplug it, it will turn off because it goes into like a hibernation charging mode. So if it's plugged in for more than 10 minutes, unplug it, it turns right off. So what I call a quick plug is if you just plug it in, wait for the light to turn on, and then unplug it and see if the unit stays on. That will let us know if the unit is turning on by a power supply, but maybe it wasn't enough to turn on by vibration. So then what we can do is at that point we can go into the app and we can go to the settings page and we can check your battery percentage. So maybe at that point we did the quick plug, it turned on, but now we go to the status page and your battery says like 20%, 15%. Maybe the battery wasn't strong enough to turn on by vibration just because we don't have enough juice to turn the unit fully on. So that's one thing we can check also is like how much battery percent do you have to really activate the unit. If you just did a long flight the day before and you're wondering, well, how come my unit only has 20% battery? So another question I like to ask customers is, what is your cruising speed? So about a year ago, we started developing a low-speed turbine. So the customer may have one of our older units that only has a standard speed turbine. The standard speed turbine is rated for 100 knots when it will start charging, all the way up to 210 knots. This newer lower speed turbine, it actually starts charging at 65 knots, and then the upper end goes to 120 knots. So I like to ask customers, what is your cruising speed? What is the model number of your unit? Because if you don't have one of our newer units made it within like the last year, you may not have the right turbine, and that's maybe why your unit isn't charging in flight. So if you've had your unit for a while and you know you fly under 100 knots, maybe that's why the unit isn't charging. And so one thing I like to talk about is, you know, you can have the unit sent in and we can replace the turbine for you, you know, things like that. Maybe even send us a picture to see if you have the right turbine. We can always check it out for you. We want to make sure you get the right turbine so you're charging efficiently. So some other things we can talk about is I've had customers call in maybe saying, you know, my Wi-Fi connection is sometimes spotty, things like that. What can I do about that? Is there any troubleshooting we can do? And yes, there is. So it can also go back to the turbine we were talking about. So with the standard speed turbine, if you have a slower flying airplane and you had the standard speed turbine, maybe during flight your unit was decreasing in battery percentage and it was getting low, and then all of a sudden maybe the Wi-Fi was being like, you were having some Wi-Fi interference it looked like, but maybe the Wi-Fi was actually just not having enough battery percentage to really be strong enough to keep the unit connected to the iPad. So that's another thing I like to ask is, what is your cruising speed, so that we can make sure you have the right turbine, because it can make it look like your Wi-Fi isn't steady or isn't staying connected well. So that's another thing we can check. This year we did also start using a newer Wi-Fi chip. It's a little bit stronger. You know, we were using our last Wi-Fi chip for a long time. Technology changes, and so we changed our Wi-Fi chip, and customers with low-wing airplanes may benefit from this new Wi-Fi chip also. So if you're having a low-wing airplane and you've had your unit for a couple years, you may want to call in and ask us about your unit and what Wi-Fi chip it has, because we may be able to update it to the new Wi-Fi chip to give you that better connection. So when we're talking about charging the unit, another thing we want to mention is the red cover. So every BOM comes with a red cover, and it actually has a magnet inside which disconnects the charging circuit. So when you're charging your unit by USB, you want to make sure you're charging with the red cover off. The unit will not charge with the red cover on. So if you do know that you need to charge your unit between flights, make sure that you're charging with the red cover off so that you are charging efficiently and you're ready for your next flight. And of course, if you guys have any further questions or need troubleshooting, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can reach us at aviationsupport@levil.com, or you can reach us at our direct line, which is 407-542-3971.